guys, it is time to get comfy. I read 12 books. 12 books in the month of November. We are doing my November wrap-up today. My name is Joss, and welcome to Squibblesreads. The first book that I read in the month of November is Unteachable by Leah Raeder. It honestly has ruined me for student-teacher relationship books for the rest of my life. It is a new adult novel. It has some really explicit graphic scenes, which I love. It is about a girl named Maas, and she meets this guy named Evan at a carnival, and it turns out that on the first day of class, he is her teacher. Leah Raeder did a fantastic freaking job writing this book. I truly believe their story, and she ventured to places that some other authors are very hesitant to go, and thus their books are very generic. But this book was absolutely not generic. You know, I did originally rate it 4.5 stars, but now, talking about it again, I really just want to bump it up to a 5. I'm not generous with 5-star ratings, but this is 5 stars. So please read Unteachable. It's so good. The next book that I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I am so behind on these series, you guys. I can't even. I read Throne of Glass finally for the first time this month, and it was fantastic. I have a really hard time with fantasy novels, as I mentioned in my previous videos, because I have a really hard time with new words and world building. I fell in love with Selena. She's just a kick-ass, badass assassin heroine, and I love her so much. And the captain of the guard, his name is Kale. My boyfriend's name is so similar to his that every time I read the book, I basically read his name. So I'm definitely hashtag team captain of the guard. Whatever, Dorian. Whatever. But yes, Throne of Glass, absolutely amazing. Definitely recommended. Very solid 4.5 stars out of 5. The third book that I read in November is The Unbecoming of Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, and I rated it 2.75-ish stars. All the characters seemed very flat, and I didn't identify with any of them on any level. I didn't fall in love with Noah. By the time I got to the end of the book, the ending just came and I was just confused. I didn't want to know more, I was just confused. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and I didn't like that. So honestly, I'm probably not going to continue with the series, but I'm glad I tried. The next book that I read in the month of November is Anne and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I honestly didn't really like this book either. Sorry, guys. I know that everyone really loves it, but it was just so generic for me. I was 70% of the way through the book, and I didn't see any kind of character evolving. I got through most of it pretty quickly. I didn't want to finish it. I didn't feel like there was much in it for me, so... And here comes your typical PSA apology. I definitely went off of my November TBR. This is where it really was just fuck it, I don't want to read any of the books on my TBR right now. When we were driving back from Disneyland, my boyfriend and I decided to listen to an audiobook. We listened to The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. It is the first book in the Cormoran Strike series, and he is a private investigator. In this book, he was hired to investigate the death of a celebrity called Lula Landry. The police had decided that her death was a suicide. She fell over a railing, and her brother came into Cormoran's office and asked him to investigate her death because he did not believe that it was actually a suicide. It is a really fantastically written mystery novel. I laughed out loud a lot of times, as did my boyfriend. I definitely rated this book a solid 4 out of 5 stars. And sixth book that I read was November 9th by Colleen Hoover. November 9th follows the story of Fallon, and she is a girl who is about to go off to college. She meets a guy in a diner on November 9th, and they decide to meet every year on November 9th just for one day. So they're just seeing each other for one day every year. It kind of centers around healing through writing. I think that as an author, if you are going to write about writing, I think it has to be top notch. Otherwise, I will not like it. Because as a writer, I experience so many deep feelings, all the feels when I write. If another author doesn't experience those same feels or similar feels when they write, do I really want to read their book? I'm not sure. And so I have very high expectations for writers that write about writing. Therefore, I had really high expectations for November 9th. And did it meet my high expectations? I mean, yes, it kind of did, but I honestly was expecting more. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This next book, oh my gosh, I read The Diviners by Libba Bray. I actually have been reading it on an audiobook, and I was listening to it consistently for 3 weeks in my car while driving back and forth from school. And it was so good. Oh my gosh, I was always so interested in the audiobook, but then when I reached like 75% in the book, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't wait another like 10 days to figure out what happens. So I downloaded the ebook and I just read the whole thing. I like blasted through the last 25%, and it is so good. So The Diviners is set in the 1920s in New York City. The main character, who is the heroine, and her name is Evangeline, or Evie. And she is shipped off because of some happenings in her hometown to live with her uncle Will, who is the director at the Museum for the Paranormal in New York. She meets a couple guys, and one of the guys who works there, they go about investigating a bunch of murders that are happening in the city according to like a theme or a trend seen in past paranormal activity. I mean, it sounds kind of like weird and quirky, and if it wasn't executed right, I think it would have been really shitty, but it was so good. And can we just talk about Jericho? I am totally Team Jericho. Then I read Slammed by Colleen Hoover, and I really shouldn't have read Slammed because Slammed is about another student-teacher relationship. And after reading Unteachable, honestly, Slammed was just kind of like meh. And honestly, you know, when I read Colleen Hoover, I'm mostly reading for plot, and the plot was good, you know, it was good. It was kind of just there, though, you know, it didn't really hit me. Unfortunately, Slammed was a really quick read. I think I read it in like a few hours. It was good, not great. 3 stars out of 5. The next book that I read was an absolutely beautiful book. It's called Hate List, and it's by Jennifer Brown. I actually talked about this book in my books that I am thankful for. It basically centers around a girl, and her name is Valerie, and her boyfriend was the instigator and perpetrator of a school shooting in which many people died. It follows her journey after the shooting through self-discovery and her journey through therapy and bullying. As I talked about in the video, it is a very real, raw, genuine, real-life book. It really outlines the process of psychotherapy very well. And if you watch my video, I definitely go into this more, but I'm so proud and happy of Jennifer Brown, so I gave it a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, I got from my library haul. It is called Every Day by David Levithan. It is about a person named A, and A wakes up every day in someone else's body and experiences their life in their body. And the first person that was presented to us was when A was in the body of a guy named Justin, and A fell in love with Justin's girlfriend, Rhiannon. Basically, the whole book explores how A moves from day to day and exploring A's life, how he adapts to the different situations and the different genders and the different cultures that he can wake up in. I keep saying his. A is not a guy. A is just a person. A gender-fluid person. It also explores how A can try and move forward with A's relationship with Rhiannon, if A can do so. Everyone really loved this book, and I also really loved this book. I also think that I need some time to like metabolize it and digest it and really like feel around with it, because I think it touches on so many issues. It touches on suicide, and it touches on gender identity, and it touches on love, and it touches on like loving people for what they look like instead of what they are inside past their looks. So I think I really need to digest this one more, but for right now, I definitely give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The 11th book that I read in the month of November was You by Caroline Kepnes. Yikes. You was creepy. You is written by a stalker. The stalker's name is Joe. Joe falls in love/obsession with this girl named Guinevere Beck. Beck walks through the door of his bookstore where he works. Why do they have to pick a guy that works at his bookstore? Why can't they pick a guy that, like, I don't know, is not so easy to like? I like guys that work in bookstores. But Joe works at the bookstore, and he falls in love with Beck, and he basically stalks her throughout the whole book. It's especially creepy because it's written in the second person. He says, you walk through the door. You're wearing these clothes. You're not wearing these clothes. It's creepy. If you want a psychological thriller, this is the book for you. It's fantastic. I can see how some people might be really disturbed by this, but I loved it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read is a book that I just finished last night. It was a really quick and easy read. It was a new adult book. It's called Foreplay by Sophie Jordan. Am I even allowed to say Foreplay on YouTube? Will I get flagged? I don't know. This book was a really happy surprise. In a lot of like new adult / erotica books, there is a lot of like insta love over like the ripples of his abdominals and his wide shoulders and his wide back in his simple gray shirt. How can he pull off a simple gray shirt like that? I don't know, but he does it. But this book was was totally not like that. While it definitely had those things, it had those elements, they weren't like awkward or out of place or forced. The premise of the book is that this girl, Pepper, she wants to date and fall in love with her friend's brother, Hunter. However, she is inexperienced sexually and she's also inexperienced in the dating world. So she sets out with her two roommates, Emerson and Georgia, and they go and try and find someone to open up her world to sexual things. I am so awkward. They try and go and find someone to open up her world of sexual things and dating, explore her sexuality. We really get to know these people and their backstories. I was so genuinely surprised, and I would definitely recommend this to someone who is looking for a new adult book to read or to try the new adult genre. This is definitely a great step into that genre. I gave it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. So that is the end of my November wrap-up. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything else, please leave me a comment down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.